Hello, welcome to another English Sparkling with Tweedy video. Yet another different tree today. Another rosé sparkling wine today that I picked up from John Lewis, Oxford Street Food Hall. I actually bought 3 bottles while I was there, all rosé in fact. It just happened that the most interesting looking bottles that happened to be there on the day were all rosé and in that rosé wine fridge. Now this is a producer I have featured before. I don't recall that it went particularly well last time. This is from Plumpton. Plumpton is a very important college. It's an agricultural college originally, but they have a very prestigious wine making department, a department that focuses on winemaking and viticulture. I think most wine producers, most English wine producers have at least somebody in their staff who will have done at least part of their training at Plumpton College. It is the place to go and learn about winemaking and vine growing, viticulture in the UK. I actually have a part-time qualification from Plumpton College. I did one of their courses. It was just sort of 8 days or so, 7-8 days. I did one of their courses on viticulture, on vine growing. Didn't ever actually visit the college itself. It's down near Plumpton, as the name suggests, which is near Lewes in Sussex. I did all of my lessons in a pub, funnily enough. The theory part in a pub and the practical part in a vineyard, not exactly at the college itself. But this is a really important college for the English wine industry. Famous names like Dermot Segru, etc. All that, just about anyone you can think of has likely had some association with the college at some point. So they make wine on site, and the viticulture of this, the vine growing part of this, and the winemaking is done by the students as they're getting their degree or whatever other qualification they're getting in winemaking and or viticulture. They make some wine on site, and it is supervised by some professionals, but I think that means that there's a little bit of sort of Russian roulette with these. I think when it's good, it can be really good, and when it's not so good, then, well, I suppose you can console yourself with thinking that you've possibly had an early failure by somebody who may well go on to become a very famous, very prestigious winemaker. The bottling date 2022, disgorged 2024, so presumably just under 2 years on the lees. It does have the grape breakdown here. The biggest single constituent, surprisingly, is Pinot Meunier at 42%, Pinot Noir 34%, Chardonnay 12%. I always like it when wine has some of that technical information on the bottle. It's a reassuring pop. It's an MD5 cork. I was talking about those in a previous video. So that is guaranteed for 5 years from the point at which the cork goes in. And as I don't think I explained very well in the previous video, the cork goes in at disgorgement. So that doesn't mean that, you know, if this is a 5-year-old vintage, then it's already getting to beyond the range of the guarantee. Disgorgement was April 2024. So that cork's been in there less than a year. I mean, 5 years is absolutely tons. Slightly sort of orangey colour, isn't it? Sort of salmony, pinky sort of orange almost. Initially sort of faint, to be honest. Getting possibly a little bit of something like orange peel, kind of marmalade-y sort of smell. There might be a little bit of orchard fruit in there as well. Maybe hint of some stone fruit, possibly even flash of cherry in there with a bit more of a swirl. Swirl, never get the word right. It's all a little bit faint, but there is an interesting kind of fruit bowl there of, I think I'm getting some orchard fruit, some stone fruit like cherry, and something like orange peel. So that's not a bad start. Orange peel is something I sometimes notice actually in wines that have a high degree of Pinot Meunier. It's not the first time I've seen those two things go hand in hand. That is a bit livelier on the palate than the slightly underwhelming mousse or lack of mousse suggests it would be. Really nice effervescence, nice fizz to that on the palate, and a nice bit of zing as well. And pretty dry actually, particularly after yesterday's Gusbourne rosé, which was veering a little bit towards the sweet side. This is much more dry. I really like the mouth-watering zing of it. Really quite refreshing. Quite a sort of mineral feel to it, I think. And partly that's something I seem to end up saying when wines are on the drier side. Not getting really a lot of autolytic character. It's not doing much in terms of sort of bready, yeasty sort of aromas, but I don't know that I'd expect a huge amount of that with that relatively short lees aging time. But I actually think that's pretty smart. I like the mouth-watering sensation there, the zing, the minerality, nice and dry. Certainly a lot happier with that than the last time I tried a wine from Plumpton. Possibly unfair to sort of blame the students. All wine producers occasionally get wine faults, and it can happen to anyone. I can't help but think it's slightly more likely when, by design, the people doing a lot of the processing of this wine are, learning as they go. So the prices of this, I think, are always pretty reasonable. Waitrose often seem to stock this. Waitrose Cellar and the John Lewis Oxford Street Food Hall, and possibly some other branches of Waitrose dotted around in Sussex, maybe, I imagine, sell this. It seems to be consistently under 30 quid. I'll put the exact price on screen because I can't remember exactly, but it was somewhere in the region of 26, 27, 28, which is good for English sparkling. I actually think what they've done there is a fairly classy, fairly sophisticated bit of English fizz, actually. So good stuff. Well done, Plumpton class of, would this have been 2023? I don't know if they would have graduated by now. I think that's a pretty good example of their work. Don't know if it's going to come out on camera, but I can almost see a bit of pink sky over there. Probably a bit too dark to see me now, but I felt like I ought to record a bit of an addendum about this because this is actually turning out beautifully. I'm really impressed with this Plumpton, and considering this is a sub 30 quid English sparkling, and as I said, the usual caveat that it's a bit of a Russian roulette, but this particular bottle I think is really, really good. I'm getting a little bit of peach sort of character as well now, in addition to that orange, that stone fruit, that little bit of orchard fruit, and I think that is a textbook bit of English sparkling rosé. Great fruit expression, really nice minerality, really nice mouthfeel, really nice effervescence, great balance. It's veering towards the dry side, but there is a bit of fruit expression there, so I assume there must also be a little bit of sweetness. Anyway, long story short, I think it really is worth persevering with Plumpton's wines when they're good. I think they're actually surprisingly good and really good value for money. You do just run the slight risk that perhaps a slightly higher than usual portion of them are a bit faulty. Cheers.